All right, today we're going to be discussing Hickory, North Carolina, the pros, the cons, what it looks like from moving from a place like Charlotte, North Carolina, what it looks like moving from a big city like Seattle in Washington. We're going to get into this team, and me and Angela put a lot of effort into this and really trying to dissect what type of person would move to Hickory, right? So, Angela, let's just be upfront with the people here. What type of person would move to Hickory, North Carolina, so we're not wasting people's time that potentially wouldn't move here?
Small town people. Yeah, we did do a lot of work putting some of this data together because we wanted to give a good look at the data when it comes to big cities versus small cities. So if you're looking to move to a smaller city, Hickory may be the way to go for you for sure.
All right, Angelo, let's get into the living. What does living look like in Hickory, North Carolina?
As you can see here, living in Hickory, the median household income is $58,251, which is slightly below North Carolina's average of $66,000, about $8,000 difference. Now, the median income, we take the high, the middle, the low, and we pluck out that middle number. It's not an average of all the numbers of income, right? So the national average is 75,000. So when you look at a national average, it's definitely below the national average for Hickory. The cost of living, the median home price is $233,800 versus North Carolina's median of $234,900, which is not a huge discrepancy, but still a little click down from that.
All right, Angelo, let's give a comparison here. Let's give a comparison between Hickory and Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay, so we have a lot of data right here. I'm not going to go through every little nugget, but if you want to go ahead and take a look at this, pause it and take a look at it. But I'm going to hit on some really pretty important things that I think that should be important to you. We have the median home price here in Charlotte, about $390,000. Now, this is 2023 data, and then in Hickory, we're at $225,000. Job market is strong and diverse in Charlotte. We have a huge banking, we have huge tech, we got a lot of companies moving to Charlotte, whereas Hickory, it's not so much. It's smaller, there's more manufacturing and things like that, right? Now, crime rate, definitely higher in Charlotte, and I don't see that it's going to be getting any better anytime soon, so that may be something to consider. Hickory, it's got a very low crime rate. So if that's something that is a concern of yours and you got a family, definitely look at Hickory. One last thing I wanted to point out is the population. As you can see, of course, you have 874,000 people in Charlotte, whereas Hickory is 41,000.
All right, Angelo, there are pros and cons to everything, but we have to get into the cons. We have to be transparent with the people here. What are the cons of living in Hickory, North Carolina?
So Hickory, North Carolina is not as big as Charlotte, as we just talked about. Getting around Hickory, there are no light rails. There's not a ton of public transportation versus Charlotte, where you got the light rails, the cat buses. Any way you need to get around Charlotte, you can get around Charlotte. So that is very limited in Hickory when it comes to transportation. So you got to have a car. Make sure it's a good one. You can get around town and get your family around town. So that's a big one. And then the second biggest con, in my opinion, is going to be the job market. Much smaller in comparison to bigger cities, as I mentioned earlier. So definitely something to consider. Now, if you're a remote worker and you can, you have the availability to have a remote job anywhere in the country, once again, this may be a perfect city for you. So, and then, if you are not used to hot weathers, North Carolina, it is humid. Where you go outside and you start sweating, boy. So it's a hot one. So if you're used to the West Coast and a lot of rain and drizzle, like in Seattle or something like that, but which we'll get into, it's definitely a much different climate situation.
Speaking of Seattle, Washington, let's give a good comparison here from a savings perspective, right? Because if you live in a smaller city like Hickory, North Carolina, you will be saving money comparatively to Seattle, Washington. So, Angela, let's give into this breakdown here, provide the value here. What is the savings breakdown of living in Hickory, North Carolina compared to Seattle, Washington?
Well, Gavin, when we were doing the numbers on this, we were both a little blown away by the savings that you could, keep in your pocket when you moved to Hickory from Seattle. I mean, $54,000, as you can see here, and we'll go ahead and break it down right here in the next sections here. The majority of that $54,000 is going to be in a mortgage payment. As you can see, median home price is about $850,000 in Seattle, which we were both a little taken back by. You're looking at 20% down with a 6.75 interest rate. Your monthly payment, estimated tax, insurance, and the HOA is $55.86. That's a pretty big nut to crack there. With Hickory, you're looking at $210,000 median home sales price. So you put 20% down on that sucker, you're only looking at $1,380 in a mortgage payment. Way different. Now, is that going to be a mansion of a home? No, but in Seattle, 850 is not going to be a mansion of a home either. So monthly savings, we're at $4,206. Your annual savings right there is $50,000. Now taxes, Seattle, federal tax, give or take 1,000 a month based on the average. State tax. Washington does not have any state income tax, so that could be a plus for you. Okay, Hickory, federal tax, give or take 800 a month based on average income. State tax, give or take 200 a month in North Carolina, state income tax. Now monthly savings, as you can see here, annual tax savings. The transportation savings is $100 a month. Annual savings is $1,200. Groceries and dining, give or take $200. Annual savings $24. Utilities, I'm going to rip it off here. Annuals, that's where we get that $54,672 number. So you do the math. If Hickory is a small town you want to move to from Seattle, this may be something to do. Now, is it for everybody? Not sure.
That's what we're about to get into right now, Angelo. Why move to Hickory, right? So you live in Charlotte. I live in Orange County in California. These are some great cities, right? Some bigger cities.
For
Charlotte
sure.
not being like a Huntington Beach, but still a bigger city compared to other cities in California, like a Menifee or like a Hemet. In Charlotte, you got Fayetteville. So it's like there's comparisons here that we can draw in two different cities on two different sides of the coast here, all right? But why move to Hickory, a small town in North Carolina? Why would someone do it?
So first and foremost is a lower cost of living. That's if you're looking to save some money, lower cost across the board. That is why you'd want to move to Hickory. And if you are sick of the hustle and bustle, sitting in traffic, getting road rage, then Hickory may be an option for you. It's less traffic and commute time. And there's a lot more peace and quiet in Hickory because there's not as many people. As you can see, the 41,000, the population. Not like Charlotte is, upwards of 800 plus thousand people. So that would be why you'd want to move to Hickory. Now, would I personally move to Hickory? For me, no. I would not move to Hickory. My business is here. I'm right around the corner from my business. I love my little hood here in Charlotte. I got my family. I got my friends. I grew up in a small town. If I grew up in Hickory, I kind of look at where I grew up was kind of like Hickory, right? I grew up in a small town, and then I moved to a bigger town. So that may be something that just kind of, gave me, just kind of made me reminisce about my hometown growing up. I loved growing up in a hometown, a very small town. So it may be something that to consider with a small family. If you're relocating and you don't have a ton of family, that may be something to consider, right? So but for me personally, everything is here. My business is here. So I wouldn't move to Hickory, but it is a good option for some people.
Angelo, that was a lot of wisdom you gave right there because it is situational. It is what your past has led up to your present right now. I would consider living in Hickory, Angelo. Wouldn't I? Would just because, it is crazy. Just because I mentioned I live in Orange County right now, so it's like, oh, you're gonna go from Orange County, you're gonna go from Huntington Beach to Hickory, North Carolina. It's like,
Are you sure about that, Gavin?
maybe, but in all honesty, I was sharing before you. It's like, okay, like I'm 22 years old. I want to buy my first house, right? And here's the example here. Am I going to buy a 1.2, $1.5 million home in Orange County as a 22-year-old business owner? No, I'm absolutely not. So I need to step out of California. I need to take my first step. I'm currently looking in the Scottsdale area to buy my first home. But I was telling Angelo before the video here, I would consider a place like Hickory. It's the small living I like. I live a traditional life. I want a wife. I want kids. I'm going to have my at home office. Those are things that I'm going to enjoy, and I could enjoy that in a peace and quiet neighborhood in Hickory. Now, if you're a political man, I don't even have to get into it when the living looks like in California. So you know the discrepancy there. I don't even have to get
Right.
into it, right? So those are the things that I would enjoy about a place like Hickory, right? So Angelo, let's provide the value here. Steps to
Yep. Here you
buying
go.
a home in Hickory. What does it look like? What's step one?
So first and foremost, get pre-qualified. Talk to a local mortgage professional. Talk to myself. If you got any questions, reach out to me about that. Hickory and surrounding a lot of the areas. I just helped somebody move to Hickory. A lot of the areas are USDA eligible. And if you don't know about USDA, it's not just about where's the beef, right? It is a zero down loan program to help populate the rural communities and the communities that don't have a ton of population density. So very, very attainable 0% down options in and around Hickory. But what we did here is we did an example. Once again, get pre-approved. We get you with an agent. So we did an example here of $300,000 home, which is bare minimum down payment, 3% on a conventional loan, plus closing costs. You're looking at $7,300 all in, around 16K all in with down payment and closing costs to get into a home in Hickory, North Carolina. If once you get your pre-approval, we can get you starting to do a home search here. I got some agents in Hickory and surrounding, or just go on and do a quick Zillow search. Why don't you go ahead and pull up some of those?
There we go.
Some of those properties we were looking at here. Look at the land around it. You can't find land like that in Charlotte, right? I mean, houses are sitting on top of one another, and you can see right here, you got a big backyard. It's a ranch style home. It's very newly renovated, updated. It looks like it's got maybe LVP flooring, new cabinets, appliances. I mean, it's a beautiful home for less than $300,000, right? So this is something that you could honestly feasibly look at this house. I mean, it's a cute house. I am a fan of this home, right?
For the price, $295, Angelo?
Right. Exactly. So there are things in Hickory this is a nice house. You have a family, you got your kids running in the backyard, so it's definitely something to consider.
All right, team, if you are thinking about picking up your life, going somewhere else like Hickory, North Carolina, you can always reach out to my boy Angelo here. You can click the pinned link in the comment section down below. It'll take you directly to his link tree. You can leave a message, just drop your mobile and email, and you can contact him. Say, hey, Angelo, I'm actually thinking about Hickory, and he'll get right back to you.
That's right.
But team, at the end of the day, we are all thinking about the future for ourselves, and sometimes that future is somewhere else, right? We can be very transparent here. Angelo's like, I don't want to move to Hickory, and I'll be like, you know what? I would think about moving to a place like Hickory, right? Maybe not exactly, but if it was right, if it was a match made in heaven, right? I get married tomorrow. It's like, honey, where are we moving to? It's like, well, I've been doing a lot of research on Hickory. I got
we go.
So that would how I would
Right.
feasibly walk through it with myself, Angelo, and what are the benefits there, the living conditions, what type of house that I could buy that would see good appreciation next 6 to 8 to 10 years, where I can raise my kids with a peace of mind of not the California BS and live a lifestyle that I would love to raise my children in. That is what I'm looking for. And you have that same mindset, Hickory may be for you. So reach out to Angelo below. But that is all we have for this video this week, team. Make sure you like if you got something valuable here, and we will see you next week. Bye.